Welcome back to Shock and All HQ. Today, we're going to go back in time just a little bit. I know I said last episode that we were going to get to the binding, and I promise, we will get there. First things first, though, I need to get these little splines in to keep any potential cracks from spreading through the sides, and they also stiffen things up. So I'm using a stick of, I think it's about 3/8 square mahogany that I have rounded over the corners using a small router bit before cutting this to length. It just saves me a little time and looks a little more elegant, I think. It's tough to find exactly the right clamps to do the job. I may have to make some in the future. I was already thinking about some high pressure lining clamps, so why not? So you may be wondering why I'm breaking out epoxy now. I promise I'm not going to apply a bunch of it to the inside. I just need a small amount of it to apply carbon fiber reinforcements across the tops of the braces. It's part of the bracing scheme. Also, get yourself one of these little 1/10 of a gram postage scales. They are so worth it, and you end up saving a lot of epoxy when you don't have to mix it by the pump. So I'm going to start with a tack coat on top of the braces themselves before I start trying to apply the actual carbon fiber strips. This is my first time doing this, and I'm still trying to figure out the best way of actually pulling this off. So applying it dry from the spool didn't go quite as well. So let's apply some epoxy to the strands and stick them back down. That seems to be going a lot better. And now we'll put some epoxy on the brush and do what's called stipple this down. I think that's how you pronounce it. Anyways, we're applying epoxy over the top of the carbon fibers now. Now, you're supposed to fan out the ends of the carbon fiber strands. I'm having a lot of trouble getting that to happen, though. Some may disagree with this, but I like to apply a 1 pound cut coat of shellac to the inside of the body. Just one. I personally think it helps balance out potential humidity changes and slows that process down, so if you go through a rapid change, it may prevent cracking. Plus, I just like how it looks. It smells kind of nice, too. And of course, we got to do the back too, especially since you get to see that through the sound hole. I mean, if I'm going to do anything, I'm going to do the back. However, I am trying to avoid getting it on glue surfaces. So in my efforts to be more meticulous about these builds, I am going to take measurements of the height of the braces at multiple points. That way I can roughly reconstruct any shape of the brace. Plus, it allows me to track changes. Although in hindsight, why I didn't make a printout of this so that I didn't have to draw them individually, I don't know. I've lovingly nicknamed my go bar deck the Forest of Death, because it feels like if you have to reach into it to move one of these bars, you might get smacked in the face. If the day happens where I actually go pro, I'll probably switch to the square fiberglass bars. But I also don't see that day coming. You know, let's do a little before and after with the back off and then the back glued on. Finally, we get to making some binding. The question is, what kind of binding do I want? Oh boy. Hold on. When did the wood turn purple? Oh, great. Now he's got walnut too. Talk about indecisive. First, we cut these down to about 3 millimeters raw thickness. Sand out both faces, then rip to the desired height of binding, plus a little more. Now I'm going to stack them all up on their ends. I'm going to sort them out just for the sake of argument here. And run them through the sander as a pack. I'm squeezing them together so they don't roll over on their sides. And there's the completed mess of binding. So the choices are Purple Heart and Bloodwood. I figured why not. We'll try the more difficult ones. See if we can learn some stuff from this. Could I have gone back to my CAD sketch and figured out what these dimensions are? Sure. The bending process is exactly the same as the sides, so I'm going to skip past that point. It's boring. So I'm just going to use a little masking tape and super glue to help me out here. I'm terrible with hand saws, and so I'm going to glue these bits of spruce down as guides. And this will give you what you might call a sneak preview. Ah, some lovely flame redwood. I'll be hoarding that for a while. No, I promise I'm not a Festool fanboy. That's the only thing of theirs I own, actually. I'm just going to pre-cut this just a little bit with the marking gauge to prevent tear out on my little end graft. So inevitably, there's going to be gaps in the binding in places, and I'm going to need some dust to fill them. But I don't want to sit there and hand sand it. So I came up with this little trick. I'm going to use a drum sander and a jar to catch dust, and gravity. I'd say that was pretty effective, at least at making a mess. I think this might be the tightest set of binding I've had yet, although the cutaway still leaves a little bit of something to be desired. So in the past, I have found the miter joint at the end of the cutaway to be one of the most difficult to get right. So to that end, I'm going to start there, and I'm actually going to try and join the two pieces of binding together before attaching to the rest of the guitar. As you can see, I'm slowly tacking out from that center point, so hopefully I have a nice tight miter joint. Looks like it didn't completely work, so I'm going to wick in some super glue here with a clamp across the end. So we'll go ahead and switch to the back now. It's basically the same process as the top, but requires a little more precision because I can't get away with hiding the joint near the neck. The other thing is we've got this sped up 50 times to give you some idea of how long this takes. Never mind how much masking tape you go through to do it. Remember how I'd mentioned there would be gaps? Yeah, I just knew they were coming. So to fill them, I'm taking some of the dust and I'm rubbing it into the gap, and then I'm going to fill it with this super thin super glue. And I'll rub some more of the dust back on top since it tends to sink in just a little bit. By the time we're done, it'll be almost invisible. So I'm using some star bond accelerator here, particularly because it's slower to activate and less likely to cause the thin superglue to puff up and haze. And now to scrape off all this mess. It's gonna be almost a shame. The binding's not gonna be quite so purple when I'm done with it. Just use some 220 grit here to sand back the mess from the binding gaps. Check for more gaps and probably have to fill a few more. I think that looks pretty good. Just gonna knock the dust off here. So I'm gonna call it here and say thanks for watching. And in the next episode, we'll do more tap testing, cut in a neck pocket, and try to feed a goat. Who will blink first? Well, you'll just have to find out when we come back, huh?